Alright, B-Winks is here with some more cards. This time we got Demon Hunter. We got the Cycle of Hatred. 7 cost Demon Hunter card. Deal 3 damage to all minions. Summon a 3/3 spirit for every minion killed. So it's obviously like a stronger whirlwind to start off. And then for every minion that dies, you get a 3/3. So really this is very good if your opponent has like a lot of small stuff. So it's a kind of like control type card for Demon Hunter. And also kind of turns it aggressive at the same time because of how much stats you can get out of it. So it's kind of like if you're playing an aggro deck, like if you're a Demon Hunter playing aggro and you're playing against an aggro deck, the Cycle of Hatred is really good because even if you kill your own stuff, you still get a 3/3 for it. So hopefully kind of the plan is just to have like a full board of 3/3s at the end of this. Which, let's say if you're playing Mage, Flame Strike will easily deal with it, but that's why it's very good against aggro versus aggro matchup, for example. So, as a Demon Hunter card, I'm going to give it a 7, because I think it's very good. What type of decks should you expect this in? Probably like a slower aggro, because if you're playing aggro, it's obviously too slow. But if you're playing other aggros and you have this, that gives you a huge advantage over those other aggro decks, because generally aggro decks have kind of smaller small health, higher attack minions kind of thing. So this is very useful for clearing out that and then taking control of the board instantly afterwards to then just hit face a bunch for 21 if you got that full board. So that's probably kind of the direction it would go. Like if a bunch of aggro decks become popular, then this can be the dominant aggro deck because it will outclass other aggro decks because of this. Glide. 4 cost Demon Hunter spell. Shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 4 cards. Outcast. Your opponent does the same. So basically, if you have 2 cards in your hand, your opponent also does it. Or if you have 1 card. If you have 3 or 4, your opponent may not be doing it, depending on where the card is in your hand. So it's a very strange card because in some situations, having your opponent shuffle their hand into their deck and drawing 4 cards is very bad. But in other scenarios, it could be very good. Like if your opponent is playing control, for example, and they've got like 8 cards in their hand, shuffling their hand into their deck and making them draw 4 so they only have 4 cards instead of 8 in their hand is super useful. Especially when you're playing Demon Hunter, because Demon Hunter as a class itself is generally pretty aggressive as far as I've noticed at this point. So just because of that, it can be an amazing tool against any control type deck that I can notice. So, with that all out of the way, the main question is, where do I rate this out of 10? And it's very difficult with this card on where exactly I want to rate it. But, I think I am going to go with a 7 out of 10. Because I think it has a lot of flexibility. And very useful. It can be super useful in, of course, aggro decks again. Oh yeah, sorry. I should talk about what type of deck should you see this in? Well, you'll see them in obviously in aggro Demon Hunter probably, where they're running low on cards, and this is a very strong card draw card. Because if it's an aggro versus control matchup, it works out really well in an aggro deck then. Because you're shuffling basically nothing into your deck and just drawing 4 cards. While your opponent, who is, because he's control, is most likely losing 4 cards in his hand. Because he had like probably 8. Or if you're playing a combo deck as well. Getting rid of those combo pieces as well could very much happen there. So it's just got so much flexibility. I think it's very good. So, you know what? I think I'm going to change. I'm going to say it's an 8. I think it's an 8. Mage Hunter. 3 cost, 2/3 Demon Hunter minion with Rush. Whenever this attacks a minion, you silence it. And I'm sure you silence it first before it hits it. I didn't really look into that. I probably should have. It's just I never see this card. I really don't. I think it's a very underwhelming card, honestly. Yes, it has Rush. It can instantly silence something that it attacks. But Demon Hunter already has very good silence options. It has a 1-cost silence card that, if it's Outcast, you also draw a card. So it has much better silence options. It's understated for a 3-cost, first off. Well, so is Iron Beak Owl. Like, very understated. But this one is still understated, and Demon Hunter just has much better options than this. So for that reason, with the Mage Hunter, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. It's not very good. What type of decks do you see this in? I don't expect you to see really it in any decks, really. I don't think it's that good. I really don't. Fel Guardians. Summon 3 1/2 demons with taunt. Cost 1 less whenever a friendly minion dies. This one's a weird one. Because if you're playing aggressive stuff, your opponent's obviously targeting your minions, killing them. Which is making this cheaper. And it doesn't necessarily say it has to be in your hand for it to cost less. So you could draw it and it's just a free summon 3 1/2 demons with taunt. Which, really, that's not that much. So, just for a Demon Hunter card, it's just, I think it's a bit weak. I'll be honest. Because Demon Hunter is so aggressive, they're not gonna want this. It doesn't have enough attack. The taunts are nice, but they don't care. They can heal a little bit themselves, if need be, but most of the time, they're being aggressive. Take out the face. Just face. That's all they care about. So I don't really see this too much. But overall, it's not a bad card. So for the rating, I'll give it a 5 out of 10 because it's not a bad card. But for any decks you'll see it in, you probably won't see it because of Demon Hunter just being so aggressive. Like, if I haven't gotten that into your head, where Demon Hunter, the class itself, is aggressive, I don't know how I'm going to get that in your head otherwise. The Ancient Void Hound. 9 cost, 10/10 demon. At the end of your turn, you steal 1 attack and health from all enemy minions, which is absolutely insane, especially since it only costs 9. Remember the 10 cost 10/10 that didn't do anything? Yeah, now we have a 9 cost 10/10 that frickin' just slowly destroys your opponent's board. Because, you know, that's fair and fun. It's fun for the kids. Just this card. It's super strong. Like, really, really strong. Because the 10 cost 10/10 itself wasn't very good. But a 9 cost 10/10 that steals attack and health from enemy minions, I think that's a bit concerning on how strong that is. But that's just a thought that I have. So I could be way off the marker. So, I don't know. For the rating, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Because it is strong. But for decks that it's in, it may go into a Demon Hunter deck. Not an aggressive one, probably not. Unless they need something where they struggle with finishing off the opponent early, and they need some big thing to finish them off in the end. Then you throw in the Ancient Void Hound. But otherwise, I'd probably think more of like a tempo Demon Hunter, maybe? Would throw this in. I'm thinking that's probably most likely of where it would go. Or a Soul Fragment Demon Hunter could also be an option. Let's move on. Double jump. Double jump, double jump, double jump. Double jump. For 1, draw an Outcast card from your deck. Simple, tutors. 1 cost to draw 1 card is actually just pretty darn good. Because generally, I think the consensus of how much card draw costs is about 1.5. It should be. Because you see Novice Engineer is a 2-cost 1/1 that draws a card. So that probably puts... Because that honestly does put drawing a card at about 1.5. Because also then you have the normal 3-cost Arcane Intellect for drawing 2 cards for 3. So that once again kind of puts it in about the same spot. So it's pretty normal to assume that card draw is about 1.5. So for 1, it's already good. But adding on top of it that it tutors just makes it so much better. Like, there's no condition either. It's just you draw this specific card. Draw an Outcast card from your deck. Which is really good, honestly. So, rating. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Because it's not like super impactful that I can put it much higher, but it's still really good. Types of decks, probably a lot of decks I think would run this. Aggro probably would to get like some specific Outcast card that you put in that deck. Maybe, I don't know. Because with aggro, you could probably put a specific Outcast card in there to draw then, hopefully. But the thing is, once you, like, if you use this to draw it, like, turn 1, you gotta wait until you get through all those other cards to actually get that Outcast ability. Because what you probably want to do with this is play Double Jump and then instantly play that Outcast card because it has that Outcast ability right when you draw that. So, could be an aggressive deck, could be in a tempo, could probably be in most Demon Hunter decks. Alright, Marrow Slicer. Battlecry, shuffle 2 Soul Fragments into your deck. Yeah, sorry. Choking on something over here. I'll be fine. Which I have a picture of Soul Fragment and the Soul Fragment card on the side in case you have forgotten what it does if you didn't watch any of the other videos. Marrow Slicer is honestly really good. It really starts putting together more of a Soul Fragment type deck because it's honestly flat out a good weapon. Plus you get those Soul Fragments with it for basically no extra cost. Because a 4-cost 4/2 weapon with no text would honestly be fine. Because Fiery War Axe is a 3-cost 3/2 now. So 4-cost 4/2 is fine. You already see kind of similar 4-cost 4/2 weapons before that already. With like Death's Bite. It's the first one I can think of. Which is a 4-cost 4/2 weapon for Warrior with Death Rattle. It does the Whirlwind of dealing 1 damage to all minions. So I do really think this is a good card. completely kind of just... We're starting to see some of the stones for Soul Fragment deck kind of go together. This, that other one I talked about earlier that I can't remember off the top of my head. The Void. The Ancient Void dude could probably go in it. And I think there's a bunch of dual class stuff that will help with it. So we'll talk more about it when we get to there. But we're just starting to see some of the stuff in there. So rating, I think it's a very nice card. I'm gonna go with a 7 out of 10. For type of decks, probably only a Soul Fragment type deck. Or maybe a Control Demon Hunter. Oh, because it's got healing. Probably not. Control Demon Hunter will probably never be a thing. Well, I can't say never. I'm going to say for at least a long time it's not going to be. I'd say give it about a year and a half before people even think about going Control with Demon Hunter. Soul Shard Lapidare. I butchered that. I'm not even going to try anymore. Battle Cry, 5 cost, 5/5. Battle Cry, destroy a Soul Fragment in your deck to give your hero +5 attack this turn. Going aggressive even in the Soul Fragment deck again. Here we go. Because with the Soul Fragment deck, it's kind of aggro at the same time. But if you don't get some of those destroying Soul Fragment type cards, it kind of turns into a little bit more control. Because you get that healing from the Soul Fragments. Most of the time you want to destroy it to give, like, big benefits. Like this, for example. +5 attack this turn to your hero. I think that's good. Could this go into an aggro deck? Maybe. But then you'd probably also throw a Marrow Slicer in there, honestly, as well. Because that wouldn't be bad, then. That'd actually be pretty good in an aggro deck, too. Alright, anyway. Rating. I'll go 7. 7 out of 10. I think it's good again. Fine stats. Big benefit. With just destroying a full Soul Fragment for 5 attack. To your hero. So, what type of deck? Most likely a Soul Fragment type deck, most likely. Maybe an aggro, but probably not. Really just the Soul Fragment deck. Shatter Mystic. Once again, 3 cost, 3/2. We are battle crying to destroy another Soul Fragment in your deck to deal 3 damage to all other minions. So basically, we're trying to wipe the board here. Which most likely would not be good in an aggro deck, but would probably be quite good in a Soul Fragment type deck, where you're kind of playing more control-y. But not really, because you're destroying Soul Fragments to do lots of damage. Sorry, I had to clear my throat a little bit. So, for this one, it's a decent board clear, but it's just weird to see that in a Demon Hunter deck, for example. But it works. It's not bad, because you're playing, with the Soul Fragment type deck, you're playing longer game. A little bit. I guess you could say it's control, and I know I said that we won't see control for probably another year and a half or something, but this kind of control, kind of not. It's up to interpretation if you want to call a Soul Fragment deck control. I'm going to go with kind of, not really. Just because of destroying the Soul Fragments, which is getting rid of your healing, which would be super useful in a control deck. Healing is useful in a control deck. To do some type of lots of damage type thing. Or gaining 5 damage of attack on your hero that you're probably going face with. Anyway, with this one, clearing the board, it's fine. Just seems kind of out of place a little bit. So I'm gonna go with 6 because it feels a little out of place. Overall, it's fine though. Type of deck, just the Soul Fragment. You are not going to see this in an aggro deck because they do not care about destroying minions on the field. Vial Fiend Trainer. 4 cost, 5/4. Outcast, summon 2 1/1 demons. It's a fine Outcast card. 4 cost, 5/4 is already pretty decent to start off. And then you have Outcast of summoning another 2/2, which is a good ability. But kind of on its own, it doesn't really even need the Outcast. It's just making it a lot stronger than it probably needs to be. But it is there. So what type of deck? I'm just trying to think like what more I could say, but like it's a pretty basic card. It's kind of strong, but also pretty basic. Like a 4 cost, 5/4 that kind of does a little something with. This is kind of like a basic Outcast thing. I'll go with a 6 out of 10. It's strong. It's not overly strong. That it probably won't get running too much, I would think. So types of decks I expect it in. I'd maybe see it in probably like the Soul Fragment type deck because it's got a decent amount of stats on it. For an aggro deck, maybe, because you're going to play so much that you can get that Outcast ability really easily, and then you're getting lots of stats for 4. Almost 4 costs 7/7, but instead it's 7/6, which we know how much people love the 4 cost 7/7 from Shaman, as in everybody hated it, and it just was the meta because it was way too strong. And that had overload too. This has no overload, and it's really just 1 less health. But it's also spread out between 3 minions, so it makes it a little better. Alright, so we have the Star Student Stalina, a legendary student. The Star Legendary Student. A 4 cost, 4/3. Outcast. You look at 3 cards in your opponent's hand, shuffle 1 of them into your deck. That's right. You steal a card from your opponent with Outcast, which I think is really strong because you can mess up a lot of stuff from your opponent. I would see this very much in the Soul Fragment type deck, because if you're kind of going long game, which you are with Soul Fragment, and you're playing against a combo, this would be very good. You could break up your opponent's combo quite nicely and ruin their lives, basically. Or if you're playing a control type deck, you can get rid of some big control thing that they have and use it against them. I like the card. I think it's very good. Shakes stuff up a lot and causes lots of problems. I'm going to go with a 8 out of 10 on this one. Type of decks I expected in, most likely just a Soul Fragment. It's going to be too slow for the aggro. That'll be it for the Demon Hunter. I believe the Demon Hunter has more than a lot of the other classes because of that the class is newer, so they needed to add more cards. As far as I am aware, that's probably what they were going for. So, I'll see you next time for the Rogue cards.